I'm going to talk for a minute about how to make the best use of the time when you are working with a coach, a business coach, or some other high-end advisor that you think can benefit you from their either mentorship or their advice or whatever. I'm MarkLittle. We're going to talk specifically about financial advisory. If you're a financial advisor and you have an opportunity to work with a coach in the industry, you don't want to get on the call with them and squander the time. So let's say you've got 30 or minutes or an hour with somebody that could really benefit you. How do you make the best use of that time? I'm going to share a little bit about that using our methodology, but I'm just sharing this with you so that you can get a clear idea of how you want to invest the time with a coach to make sure you get the most out of that time. So the bottom line is that you're in a certain position in your business right now. Let's call that point A. Point A is where you are now. And point B is where you want to be. So to make the best use of the time as quickly as possible, certainly in less than 5 minutes, you need to be able to describe, here's where I am now, here's where I want to be, specifically with goals. I'll describe the type of financial advisor that I'm envisioning so that this will all make sense in a minute. But to be able to quickly describe where you are now and where you want to be, which is to be able to outline your goals in less than 5 minutes, is a skill that most business people struggle with. So think it through, because if in 5 minutes or less, you can explain to anybody that can help you, here's where I am, here's where I want to be, and here's where I am right now, I would say that's a roadmap. This is if you pulled out a map and you say, we're traveling on a trip, we're here now, this is where we want to be, and here's the progress that we make. We hit this town, and in this town, we're driving. So what I'm talking about is create a map in the mind of whoever's advising you so they dial in very quickly. Here's where I started, here's where I want to be, here's where I am now on the map. All right, I'm going to show you the map that we use with our clients, but I want to just tell you the type of client we deal with so that if there's a difference in your industry, you can make those adjustments. Who we work with is very high-end financial advisors. We work with financial advisors. They could be tax accountants or estate planning lawyers or certified financial planners or, I don't know, stockbrokers, but they are some form of financial advice is their core skill, but they work with us because they want to deliver truly comprehensive financial services to their clients. So they are very high-end financial advisors who have made a decision that they want to be radically different and better than their competition. So they are delivering on something that nobody else in their community is even messing with. They don't even want to deliver at this level. But here's the key. In our situation, typically the advisor is responsible for three things, and that's where this roadmap comes in. The advisor is responsible for client acquisition, which is to say that skill is separate. So our clients are responsible for lead generation, having enough people who want to do business with them to sit down and discuss whether or not you're going to do business or not. Client acquisition is one of the three areas of responsibility for our clients. Client conversion is also their responsibility. So they are responsible for generating the lead to potential clients and then sitting down with them, going through a process to determine whether or not it's a good fit to work together. We call that client conversion. And then client service. Now that is actually delivering on all the promises that were made back in the client conversion process. So the roadmap for our clients are these are professionals, very high-end professionals who are responsible for three things: generating potential clients, client acquisition, client conversion, determining whether they're a good fit to work with the firm or not, and then delivering on the promise to make sure that all the promises that were made in the client conversion process were actually delivered upon. That being the background, then let me go through the map for you, show you what the map is that I think you can, given that understanding, no matter what kind of service business you're in, you'll be able to utilize this map to describe to anybody that might be able to benefit you in your business so that you can explain where you are now, where you're trying to get with your business, and where you are currently on the map. All right, so where are you on this description? Now, this is the way we work with clients, but you'll get the gist of this. In our map, there's 6 steps, and I like to know where you are currently with the 6 steps. Regardless of what service business you're in or what methodology you're using, step 1 is always the same. You need to determine how you're going to be measuring success. For our advisors that we work with, there are 3 metrics, and we get them starting to track those immediately so that we have a baseline for measuring progress. So you need to be able to have a way to measure success. Now, in our business, I think this is transferable to a lot of different service businesses. We have 3 metrics. One, it's a metric for how solid the business is, a metric for how sound and how sustainable the business is. Those are the 3 metrics. Now, when you think about how solid your business currently is, you need to come up with a metric for client satisfaction. If you're in a service business, it's assumed, if you've got a healthy business, that your clients are not just satisfied, but they're at a very high level of satisfaction. They are thrilled with what you're doing for them. So you've got to come up with a metric for that. In our business, the best and most direct method of measuring client satisfaction is the annual client referral rate. Whether in your business, it's the annual client referral rate, whatever it is, you need to come up with a metric to measure client satisfaction. The second metric is to determine whether your business is sound. Now, I think in almost every business, whether it's service business or not, this is the right measure, and it is new revenue coming in. You need to be able to measure new revenue as it comes in so that you can measure growth of the business year over year. Now, in our business, this can be obscured by assets under management and a bunch of different things that are on the P&L. But so if you're in our industry, what I'm not saying is that if you have a ton of assets under management and the market grows, so your percentage of assets under management, in other words, your revenue is growing, but not due to your efforts, due to the market events, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you acquire a new client or on an existing client, they do something that is a profit center that generates new revenue to your firm. That's what you need to be measuring. So you need to measure new revenue as it comes in so that you can show that your business is growing year over year. Okay? New revenue. And then sustainability. So that is definitely going to be different depending on what industry you're in and whether it's a service business or not. But in our business, the measure of sustainability is if you have a clear vision of the team that it takes to deliver at a level that will exceed client expectations. So picture an org chart. You've got all the team members that are required to consistently exceed your client's expectations, that you've got them filled in such a way that if there is any team turnover, your client is as unaffected as possible. So the measure of sustainability in our business is that if a team member leaves, the client is unaffected by that turnover. That would include the financial advisor themselves. So if you're the owner manager of the business, you're the financial advisor, you've got it set up so that you've got all the team vacancies filled so that you're delivering at a very high level to the client. You're confident that if any of that team turns over, your clients are not going to leave, that your clients are unaffected. However, if you leave, the music stops. It's all over. That's not good. So you need to build a business and figure out a way to measure sustainability so that as the team naturally turns over, that would include you someday, your clients are nevertheless unaffected. So You need to make sure that you're measuring these three things. If you're in a business like ours, a service business, that's client satisfaction. That means you're solid. Sound means you're growing year over year. Sustainable means that as there's normal turnover on the team, the revenue and the client satisfaction continues as before. So it's unaffected. That's number one. Get your metrics in place and be able to measure success so that you've got a baseline and you can measure progress. Number two, now in our business, you're at number 2 on the map if you've got the metrics in place, but you're unclear on what you're promising to clients. So I don't want to get too wrapped up in the language here. We call this the Advisor Pact Pledge. This is unique to our business, meeting very high-end financial advisors, because the Advisor Pact Pledge, PACT is just an acronym for protection, attention, coordination, transparency. For our industry, these are the 4 client expectations that if you can deliver on all 4 of these, clients will flock to you because there's no other firm in town that's able or even willing to deliver on and promise these 4 things. But here's what I want you to think about. Forget the Advisor Pact Pledge. What I want you to think of is in terms of outcomes to the client. So we're going to be measuring success, but we're also going to be making promises to clients as they come in and start working with you. So you're sitting there in a meeting with a potential client. We call this the client conversion process, where you have an initial client interview where you're trying to understand whether what they're looking for is what you deliver. Then you're going to make some promises or pledges. Now, what most service businesses do, and this is for sure true in the financial services industry, is the professional will reel off a laundry list of services. Like, here's what we provide. And then it's this laundry list of services. We provide financial planning. We provide investment management. We provide estate planning. We do this, we do that. It's just a list of things that we do. And that's not what we're talking about here. So step number 2 in the process is that you have converted what you do for clients, what most professionals think is the laundry list of services. You've flipped them around and you've thought about the outcome to the client, so that the way you're making promises to clients, or you're making a pledge to the client, is that here are the outcomes that you can count on because you're working with us. So the reason I say this is, if you're in a service business, clients will pay not just a little more, but clients will pay substantially higher fees if you will commit to outcomes rather than services. So rather than just listing, here, we do this, we do that, we do, if you're a tax firm, we do tax planning, we do tax preparation, we do all this stuff. We do bookkeeping or whatever it is. Instead of listing services, you list outcomes. For example, we promise to flush out any conflicts of interest in your current situation. So you have a lot of financial advisors in your life. So as they make recommendations, I pledge I will work with the people in your financial life to make sure that if there are any conflicts of interest on any recommendations that are ever received by you, that you're at least upfront and fully disclosed on what those are. So let's say you're the high-end financial advisor and a client has insurance agents in their life, which all clients have insurance agents at some point in their life. The insurance agent is recommending some life insurance. Is the client aware of what is the amount of commission that's on the table, which represents, it's not nothing wrong with commissions. They're just a fact of life in financial services. I'm not commenting on the commissions are fine. Let me be clear. But the question is, is the client aware that is what's at stake here for the professional and making that recommendation? So an outcome would be, I pledge to protect you and make sure you're aware of all conflicts of interest, no matter who on your team is making a recommendation. Attention means, in our case, we pledge to pay close attention so that if ever you drift even a little bit off track, you're not going to be telling us, we're going to be telling you. We are proactive, and we will contact you to come in, and we will have already prepared recommendations to get you back on track. We are paying attention. so that you remain on track. Coordination in our business, the idea that a client has all these financial people and all these financial products that they've accumulated over the years. I raise my hand. I pledge I will coordinate all that for you. Nobody else is. I'll pledge to do that. And T is transparency, but I pledge if there are hidden fees inside anything that you're currently have your money in, I will flush those out and disclose to you on an annual basis what you're paying for every financial product or service that you're currently in. But I'm just saying, I'm giving you examples of what we do so that you can sit down and think, what are the outcomes that the client can count on because of the services you will be providing. So you're at number 2 on the map. Your address on this journey is number 2. If you are struggling with and trying to figure out how to commit to clients some outcome that they are willing to pay a higher fee in order to receive from you. All right. If you've got that done, you're now promising outcomes rather than services. Now we start getting into team. In our business, I would assume this is true in most service businesses. Now is the time to have a very strong administrative coordinator. We call it in our business an administrative manager, but it's at this point you need to be able to describe what a strong administrative manager means. What are they doing? How are they coordinating the team? What's their job? Is there a position agreement? What are they actually responsible for? In our business, the administrative manager is responsible literally for coordinating everything in the business except for what the advisor does. So the advisor is responsible for client acquisition and client conversion. And the administrative manager is supporting the advisor to make sure the calendar's well coordinated, that there's ample time to do the things that the advisor is supposed to be focusing on, and that as far as the delivering on the promises, it's the administrative manager's job to coordinate to make sure that everything that is supposed to be happening for the client is actually happening. It's not yes, of course, the lead advisor, the financial advisor that's coordinating all this is obviously accountable ultimately to the client. But there should be a strong administrative manager in place to whom it is clear everything that is supposed to occur on behalf of a client in terms of serving them and making sure everything that's supposed to get done. It's the administrative manager's job to document those processes, come to a full understanding of what's supposed to happen so that they are now responsible. Not the advisor, but the administrative manager is now responsible for making sure everything gets done and is well coordinated. So once the advisor's in place, then let's get the interim team in place. Do you have an org chart? In our case, we have 5 subject matter experts that we need to fill these vacancies. In our world, it's financial planning, money management, estate planning, tax, and insurance or risk and safety. Okay, so those are the 5 areas. Those are the 5 vacancies. Who's going to fill those vacancies? Now that you have an administrative manager, the administrative manager will run the process with the advisor to make sure the advisor has ample time blocked on the calendar to interview the vacancies, like the candidates to fill those vacancies. At least in our process, this brings into the idea of on the map, what's the timeline? Everything in our map up to this point, if an advisor sat down with me and said, Mark, I'm on number 4. Okay, great. How long have you been working on this? 30 days. Great. That's the target. Everything up to this point in our process can be done in 30 days or less. All right. So now you've introduced a sensible timeline into the map. All right, so what's 5th? 5th is, if 4th is filling the vacancies, it's with interim experts. So the difference between 4 and 5 and how you describe this on a map to someone that is an expert that can help you is you make the difference between filling vacancies on an interim basis versus filling them on a permanent basis. So now I reveal to you, how are you able on earth to get 1, 2, 3, and 4 done in 30 days? It's because you're filling vacancies only with people that are and they understand this up front, are filling those vacancies on an interim basis. Now we determine if they are actually up to the task. Do they have above average technical skills that actually impresses the clients? So now, number 5, we spend some time converting the interim vacancies into permanent roles. So one by one, we identify the weak links in the chain. We go out and interview additional candidates, but it's not an emergency because we have an interim person filling the role. So we're good for now. It bought us some time, but the brilliance of being able to fill your vacancies on an interim basis means you're up and running, you're delivering on your promises within 30 days, you've got the timeline nailed down. Now, even if it took you up to a year to one by one go through the vacancies and replace them with people that were actually more up to the task, that's fine. You keep the interim people as long as they are benefiting your clients or knocking your clients' socks off, that's fine. But the minute that starts to diminish, or those vacancies start to be created by people that are not really doing the job up to the standards that you've had, that's fine. Number 5, you would convey to your coach or your mentor or whomever, I'm at number 5, which means I've got my team in place, all the vacancies are filled, but I am just trying to go through one by one and fill them with permanent people that are truly up to the task. Then once you have your team in place, number 6 is something that's actually introduced very early on, but now you're holding the team accountable. So it is that most service businesses do not have a team goal. So I'm gonna repeat that. So because it's so critical, most teams do not advertise or commit to a team goal, which is another way of saying most teams don't know what on earth they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so they may know what their role is, but they don't really understand the goal of the team. What are we trying to do as a group? So you get to decide for whatever your firm is, like, what is the team goal? In our business, the team goal, which is introduced before you invite before you fill any vacancies, before you invite any, what we call them SMEs, subject matter experts, but before you invite anybody on your team, you need to introduce the goal. In our case, our goal is to consistently exceed the expectations of each ideal client. Now the reason you introduce that up front as you're filling the vacancy at number 4 is because at number 5, the reason there's turnover on the team is because, big surprise, some on the team are not able to actually contribute to the goal. So what's the point of having a team goal and being on a team if you're not contributing to the goal? So if before you fill a vacancy, you make it very clear, the goal of every member on the team is to consistently exceed the expectations of each ideal client, I expect you to accept that goal right here, right now. Then I'll invite you on the team on an interim basis. We'll see how it goes. If it goes great, if you are contributing to that, and how are we contributing? We're looking at client satisfaction. And in our business, client satisfaction is measured by the annual client referral rate, which if that's increasing, then the new revenue growth year over year is growing. So now it's starting to come all together. So you introduce the team goal early on, but after you've got the permanent team in place, now you're holding everyone accountable, which, believe me, this will normally create some turnover because there'll be somebody on the team who is either unable or unwilling to make the effort and utilize the time and expertise that it takes to actually deliver on whatever you've set as the team goal. And that's it. In our world, this is the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where are you at on the map currently? So we know where you started. We know where you want to be. Once you're delivering all this and you've done all these 6 things, now you're just entirely focused on the 3 metrics. You have a baseline from back on number 1. Now you just focus on increasing client satisfaction. That means you're solid. You just keep increasing new revenue year over year. You're growing with new revenue growth. That means you're sound. Once you've got every vacancy on the team filled, the goal is to fill every vacancy and to be confident that with those vacancies filled, if there's ever any turnover of anybody on that team, the clients are unaffected. Client satisfaction will continue to improve. New revenue growth continues to grow year over year. There you go. That's the map. So now you probably see how this translates into other service businesses. Hopefully now you can see what I'm talking about. If you can distill into words a description of here's where I am now, here's where I want to be in the future, or here's where I started, here's where I want to be, and here's where I am right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If they're not the 6 that I laid out, they're whatever 6 you're describing. The point is, can you describe to someone that truly can benefit you, someone with extraordinary experience, someone with really excellent skills in the business, somebody that could benefit you? Can you not squander the time that you got with them, spending the whole time explaining what you're trying to accomplish, which is what most professionals do. They squander the time just saying, oh, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. No. If you can lay it all out in less than 5 minutes, here's where I started, here's where I want to be, here's where I am right now, here's the timeline that I'm hoping to get all this done, then shut up, get their feedback. I remember when I was young, it was 25 years ago, young compared to today. So a quarter of a century ago, I remember that I was given 30 minutes with one of the most influential business coaches in my industry, a guy named Bill Backrack. He's a very good friend today. And long story short, I joined all his high-end coaching programs, got a lot of benefit working with him. But this is back at the beginning. I had heard about him, of course, read his articles. He was very well known to me. We went to our national conference of my broker-dealer. This is 25 years ago. After Bill was hired for the keynote address at that annual convention. After his keynote, we had lunch, and they had arranged for a top producer luncheon, like a breakout, like a top producer lunch, where Bill was in the middle of the table, and they put me right on his side. It was a benefit to me. I thought, I'll probably get at least 20, 30 minutes with Bill Backrack. Oh my gosh. You would think I said, Bill, here's where I started. Here's where I want to be. Here's where I am right now. So let me shut up. You spend the rest of the 20 or 30 minutes and just tell me what you think. How can you help me? No, I spent the whole time just blah, 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 blah. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm telling you, I am not anything special. I have been the worst offender on this. And then in 2002, Bill pushed me out on stage, and I started advising the industry and have been working with financial advisors directly since 2002. However, I find this to be really the saddest thing that I ever come across. I'm happy to be generous and sit down with someone who's really got on fire goals. Like nothing motivates me more than someone who's not in learning mode. They're not in information mode. They're in action mode. Action mode means I'm not getting ready to someday take action. No, I'm in action mode now. And nothing inspires me more than somebody in my industry who's in action mode, which means they are moving fast. And they sit down with me and they say, here's where I started, here's where I want to be, the timeline and where I am now. And if they can get that done in just like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, man, do I have a lot of good advice that might be able to accelerate their progress. So I think that's all I really wanted to convey. So my question is to you, can you do it? I would say start the recorder on your cell phone, start describing where you started, where you want to be, the milestones along the way, where you are right now, the timeline of the whole thing. And if it takes you 1 second over 5 minutes, you need to sit down and work on that. Hope this helps. I'm Mark Little. We'll see you in the next video.